Kim Belair has clearly hoped that gamers would forget about Sweet Baby Inc.'s existence, that they could continue to operate in the shadows and their games ultimately wouldn't be boycotted, but that hasn't happened. Gamers are extremely passionate and they are willing to research every single title that launches to make sure that they are not supporting narrative consultant groups. And now we're finding out that apparently there's a shocking origin story that's being brought up and a hidden founder erased from history. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, there hasn't been a lot of Sweet Baby Inc. news, primarily because everybody has called them out time and time again. Almost every single bit of information on this company is already online. They have gone pretty quiet over the past couple of months. It seems that they were really looking for a different approach to take, a different approach because the last one that they went with, which was calling everybody racists and sexists and having their employees go on social media and melt down over things like Gamergate 2, that hasn't worked for them. So they've needed to change their tuning quickly. And now a new expose from the YouTube channel Gothic Therapy, hosted by Master of the TDS and Writing Raven, has exploded across gaming circles, pulling back the curtain on the origin of one of the most controversial narrative consultancies in the industry, SBI. So long positioned as a boutique firm dedicated to uplifting marginalized voices through storytelling, the company now faces devastating allegations that its very foundation is a fabricated cover story and that it may have government roots. This isn't surprising if you've been following along with a lot of other DEI-driven games, such as Dustboard. I mean, Red Thread Games got government funding to make that pile of slop, which is absolutely insane. We've heard about titles like Cat Park, which are interactive stories that are government funded. I mean, hell, we've even heard about government funding organizations and outlets, which is unfortunate to hear, right? It all just boils down to government propaganda, whether it is organizations doing the heavy lifting or the outlets. Regardless, though, Sweet Baby Inc. is a company that we have always questioned the origin of, because Kim Belair can claim all she wants that, oh, she just wanted to stand as a voice for marginalized folks in the gaming industry, but that's not what the cultural Marxists are worried about. They are worried about control. That's all they want. They want opportunities to change culture unquestioned, and that's not going to happen. Gamers are willing to speak up and ultimately vote with their wallets if it means not supporting a garbage organization like this. Kim Belair is a true grifter. She just sees a way to make money out of this industry, and as soon as she can't anymore, she'll probably end up leaving it. Same thing that happened with Anita Sarkeesian and Brianna Wu. Once they sucked all the life that they could out of the industry and all the bucks that they could, they're nowhere to be found. So the video, ominously titled "The End of the Sweet Baby Lie," goes far beyond the typical criticism of DEI influence in gaming. It claims to uncover a buried founder, falsified company records, and what could be deep ties to the Canadian government. If what's alleged in this video is true, Sweet Baby Inc.'s rise in the gaming industry was not organic, but orchestrated. It says, though, Sweet Baby Inc. claims that it was founded in 2018 by Kim Belair, David Bedard, and Adrienne McGilvery, three friends with a dream of reforming game narratives. The press-friendly origin story of Sweet Baby Inc. has been repeated in interviews, panels, and keynotes for years, and I think that this is funny because in no way, shape, or form is this press-friendly to say that you came in to the gaming industry to change it, that you hated the people within it, you hated the content that was being created, and you felt that you could police it. Why companies would work with an organization like this is absolutely fucking mind-blowing. It says, though, but Gothic Therapy dug into Canadian government filings and discovered that the real story begins with someone else entirely. Of course, take everything with a grain of salt, right? Even though the case is presented here pretty clearly and concisely, you never know the full story, right? There could be other details that we are ultimately missing that are just not publicly available. But I do think that this is very interesting. A man named Terrance Jason Huberts, according to incorporation records, Terrance Jason Huberts was listed on day one as a vice president, director, and shareholder. So we're not talking about like, oh, he just happened to be along for the ride and he's just helping out. No, we're talking about major titles here. His name appears as one of of the actual founding members of the company in 2018 alongside Kim Belair and Adrienne McGilvery. But there's a twist. Hubert's name was quietly scrubbed from the record a year later in a corporate correction. His shares were retroactively reassigned to Belair, effectively rewriting the past and removing him from history. Bedard was only brought into the company in 2020 as COO, years after the company incorporation, yet he has frequently been referred to as a co-founder. The timeline simply doesn't add up. It's like they switched these two individuals' existences within the company. It says, though, on May 21st, 2018, from a single Montreal condo unit, two companies were incorporated by Terrance Jason Huberts. One was a numbered company, which quietly dissolved in 2021, and the other was Sweet Baby Inc. Same man, same condo, same day. One was discarded. The other grew into a media darling, helping shape AAA games under the guise of narrative justice. Yet the man who started it all is completely gone. No social presence, no website mention, no interviews. So, in the late 1980s, a man named Terry Hubert served as a member of British Columbia's Legislative Assembly and Minister of Parks. In his sparse interviews from that time, he publicly mentioned having a son named Jason. And that name match isn't trivial, neither is what came next. Gothic Therapy uncovered that one of his companies listed a business address, while Terry Huberts years later operated a veterinary clinic at a different address, but they both have the tie of 475, and according to the channel, the statistical odds of these overlapping names, family connections, and address numbers aligning by pure coincidence is 1 in 100 million. In '89, as Minister of Parks, Terry Huberts authored a government policy framework that outlined how private contractors could be embedded within public systems quietly, efficiently, and without public scrutiny, which I think is funny to use those words because ultimately this is what Sweet Baby Inc. wanted to do. These people wanted to infiltrate the gaming industry. They wanted to cause major change. They wanted to flip the industry upside down and alter it in a way that they deemed was better for the justice of marginalized people in the industry and representation. Yet really it just boils down to control. That's all these people actually want. They don't talk about their love for video games. They don't talk about being passionate gamers. It's like me. While sure, I'm covering a lot of industry-based topics, I'm also live streaming 20 to 25 hours a week. I'm streaming tons of different games. Hundreds of games have been streamed on this channel. Thousands of streams have been made on this channel, and it is because I'm actually a passionate gamer, and these people are not. It says, though, if Terrance is the same man or the son of that man, then Gothic Therapy alleges Sweet Baby Inc. may have been structured from the beginning to operate similarly as an embedded narrative force within gaming companies, which I think that we always have kind of assumed that these people do not care about telling better stories. They just care about controlling all of the different entities that they are affiliated with. And I think that that was a problem for Kim Belair. She worked at Ubisoft and she had no control. And that's why she left and made her own company, because she saw a way to make a quick buck and to ultimately grow some sort of following off of that. And following the video's release, Gothic Therapy sent a formal request to BCLA asking for Terry's full legal name, and the response was they couldn't confirm it. So, even more chilling is that they discovered Sweet Baby Inc. registered a second business alias, Design Sweet Baby, on the exact same day as the original filing. I think that that was probably just a backup entity in case something had happened with the base Sweet Baby Inc. Maybe they actually were hoping that SBI was going to blow up, it was going to explode, and then they were going to be able to start their own development studio. And then they realized that either number one, they weren't getting the amount of money they expected, or number two, they were working towards that goal, and then all of the boycotts began, all of the backlash started, and now they realize that's a plan that's never going to go anywhere. Of course, these are all just theories, take them with a grain of salt, but this is Sweet Baby we're talking about. If they thought that one plan was going to work, they probably had another plan for this other entity. Luckily, that's never going to come to fruition, or if it does, it's going to be a failed venture. Either way, though, this is definitely very suspicious. The erasure of this individual, the rewriting of company filings, the statistical overlap with a government official, the second alias. We don't know for certain what all of this means, to be fair, right? Maybe this person just decided to disappear from the public eye. He decided he didn't want to be affiliated with it. Hell, maybe somebody like Kim Belair was specifically picked by this individual to do Sweet Baby Inc. and saw a way to potentially make a lot of money. We don't have official confirmation. This is the only info that we have, but all of it does seem extremely suspicious, at least to me, and clearly many other people. So, of course, I will be keeping my eye on this over the next couple of days and weeks. It will be interesting to see if there's any other info that is figured out about the situation, but it's not surprising to hear that Sweet Baby Inc. completely erased one of their founders from history, and the origin story Kim Belair has touted many times of, oh, just wanting to fight for marginalized voices in the gaming industry doesn't seem to be particularly truthful. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.